Stars, the Super Bowl was something to see, and Wired has the story, the wild, true story behind Kendrick Lamar's Super Bowl halftime show. From the start, Compton's own Kendrick Lamar wanted to turn his life into a video game for his big Super Bowl halftime show. The team tasked with doing that knew what to do, right down to sourcing a vintage GNX. Kendrick Lamar wanted a GNX, not the one from the cover of his new album of the same name, one that could be gutted and turned into a clown car for his Super Bowl, Roman numeral. Is it 29? 39? LIX? For his Super Bowl halftime show. That's how Shelley Rogers, the show's art director, tells it. Rogers has solved such big stage problems for everyone, from Beyonce to Lady Gaga. She won an Emmy for her work on Rihanna's halftime show in 2023. It seemed very Rihanna-coded with the, red outfits, now blue and white and black outfits. A car wasn't a huge deal, but she needed to find one. They couldn't borrow Lamar's own Buick Grand National because they'd kind of need to destroy it to pull off the visual trick. Well, pick you part anywhere in California, and you can find cars galore, from old vintage cars to absolute junkers and wrecks. It's like a wonderland for any kind of car fan. That car was not easy to find. That car was not easy to find. That car was not easy to find, especially since he dropped his album, Rogers says. We could have just used his, but I don't know that he would have liked it after. Eric Eastland from All Access, the company responsible for fabricating the stage for Sunday's show, was the one who found what Lamar wanted. Eastland and his team located the GNX at a mom-and-pop car lot in Riverside, California, after a thorough search and at least one near mishap. As anyone watching a halftime show knows, it worked. Right on cue, as Lamar wrapped his way through bodies, the car that Eastland found and gutted popped open to reveal a small army of dancers. It highlighted just one of the 4 stages Lamar used during the halftime show. Each performance space was shaped like a button on a PlayStation-style controller, a performance intended to portray Lamar's life as a video game. That concept came from Lamar himself. Rogers says she doesn't know if the concept has anything to do with his highly publicized beef with Drake, but will say that Lamar had a vision for what he wanted his show to be, and she made it her mission to execute it. I think the video game theme was symbolic, his way to reach young people, Rogers says. A lot of it is showing his journey, traveling through the American dream. During a press conference held Thursday by the show's sponsor, Apple Music, Lamar promised to bring storytelling in his performance. The rudimentary shapes on the field on Sunday were meant to provide a clean, easy-to-understand platform for the rapper to tell that story, says creative director Mike Carson, who worked with Lamar. Director Dave Free and other members of Lamar's creative company, PG Lang, to develop the halftime show's look and sound. Dave Free and Kendrick are really into keeping things clean and minimal, Carson adds. So we went with a monochromatic concrete look and allowed the video game motif to come alive through dialogue, lighting, choreography, and music. Working with artists who know exactly what they want isn't always a given. Some come to Rogers and her colleagues and say, "What do you got? What do you got?" She says. Lamar, Free, and Carson came to the table with the idea. Rogers and her crew at Tribe Inc., which was founded by her husband, production designer Bruce Rogers, has been designing the Super Bowl halftime show for nearly 2 decades, and they just needed to make it work. They were on board with our vision from day one. They were on board with our vision from... They were on board with our vision. They were on board with our vision. They were on board with our vision from day one, Carson says. Even with this being one of the largest halftime footprints ever, Shelley and team came with clever ideas and guidance to help us maintain the design integrity and get this beast across the finish line. While making it work means one thing when you're putting on a Madonna concert or the Democratic National Convention, it means something different when you're trying to squeeze it into a national title match between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles. For one, you have to get all of the staging, lights, dancers, and the artists themselves onto the field in 7.5 minutes and then get them off 6 minutes after the final note. For another, you have to do all of this on a field where the biggest NFL game of the year is being played without screwing up the turf. Wow. Do they wear Crocs? Fields are very important in the NFL. 2 years ago, when the Rodgerses, both of them, did the Rihanna show, they created platforms that floated above the playing area to keep Rihanna off the grass. They caught a break this year. The Superdome in New Orleans has a synthetic field, which is far more resilient than the natural turf at State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona. Limitations have been fueling halftime show innovations for years, says the NFL's head of music, Seth Dudowski. For years, he says, the show simply required setting up a stage for a rock band and taking it down. A little over a decade ago, when artists like Madonna and Katy Perry started doing the show, they brought a desire to make it more theatrical and concert-like. When The Weeknd performed in 2021, COVID-19 restrictions as well as field restrictions dictated that most of the performance take place on stages built around Raymond James Stadium in Tampa, Florida. The Weeknd's performance allowed us to break the mold, Dudowski says. The following year, when Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Mary J. Blige, 50 Cent, Eminem, and Lamar performed, halftime organizers were able to erect 25-foot stages and get them off and on the field in a matter of minutes. Each time, the Rodgerses and All Access have figured out how to make it happen. Wow, this article is an ad for this company. I wanted to know more about Kendrick's performance. I think we know they got the car, the GNX, at a used car lot, but, you know, I definitely appreciated the video game theme and all of the kind of cultural reference points in this production. I don't agree that it was boring. I thought it was quite interesting. And, you know, with the removal of the messaging at the end zones about end racism, I think it was a great statement that Philly beat Kansas City, and with black quarterback and great moves by, you know, all different shades of team members, and that, you know, the outfits were all very interesting, and that celebrities turned out, including Donald Trump, and it was a show. And that's what you need from the Super Bowl. But let me know what you think, stars.